What's going on YouTube? So today I'm going to be going over some of the things that I see people doing wrong in Lightroom with their photos. Now, some of these you are going to use if that's the effect you're going for, but I'm going to show you some of the things that really just don't look great if you're not going for that look. But first, let's roll that intro. Alright, so this is a shoot that I did yesterday. When you crop an image, you see right here how thirds are great. We're going to roll with this. Well, I'm going to drop this down to a 4.5 by 10 Instagram. And then we're going to hit the auto. Usually gets me pretty close. We're good to go. Now you notice the reflection here. Well, we want to bring that out. I start with the auto button just to bring it out, kind of see what we're working with. We do have a little bit of noise. Now, I always hit enable profile corrections. It really brings out a lot of the problems with the lens. So with noise reduction, I don't want to do too much because I don't want to lose any of the details. If you do too much, the skin will start to look like basically like a plastic doll. So you have to be really careful with what you do. So now, with all that being said, now with the S-curve, now you can make this as crazy as you want or as subtle as you want. So what we're going to do is name of its S-curve, so we're going to make an S. And you can bring this way up, or you can bring it way down. Now what I like to do is I like to go about 10. I'll bring down the lights a little bit, and then we'll bump up the highlights just a touch. Now with everything up here that was done automatically, I still play with it. I just wanted to get a good reference point of where we were at. Now I do use dehaze, clarity, and texture, so you want to make sure that you play with these as well as you're doing this, so that way you can get a good idea of where you're at while you're doing it. Alright, because you don't want to overdo it, and this is what I was talking about. That doesn't look good. Alright, now the same thing with clarity. You do too much, and it really starts to just not look all that great. Now, if this is what you're going for, and you want to bump this up and really give that moody tone, then yeah, that's exactly what you want. But that's not what we're going for here. So the blacks, obviously up, down. I usually don't try to mess with the blacks too much. The whites are the same. They have to blow them out. Now, if the highlights, if I can't bring down the highlights enough, I will mess with the whites. The shadows are the shadows, obviously. But you want to make sure this looks good. I still want her reflection to pop out, but I don't want it taking over. Contrast is the same way. Be very careful. Now if you want to go with the old like film look, this is the way to go. I like just a little bit Now, with all this being said, now that I have it semi-adjusted, I'm going to start playing with it a little more just to give myself what I'm looking for. I want to make sure that everything that I'm doing is what I want. Now, for those of you that don't know, on the new upgraded Lightroom, if you are using it, you have these. Okay, this is color grading, and this took over the split toning. So I do try to play with this. You do have to be careful with it, as once again, still, it does get a little crazy sometimes. But I'm going to put just a little bit of blue, and we are really going to make this not moody, but we're definitely going to bring it out just a touch. And this allows you to control your shadows, your midtones, and your highlights. So we're going to bring up the green. Now here's your blending and balance. Alright, so I really want to play at the blending first to kind of get what I'm going for. And then we're going to blend it all together. Okay, I'm really starting to like that. I don't mess with these a lot unless I'm just trying to drop out a lot of the background. If I want all the background to be gray, but right now we're not going to mess with that. I like where we're going. But let me show you some of the things that I have noticed. So you see that's hitting shade, your white balance. Mine was good where it was at. Be careful playing with your white balance, because you can really go overboard on it. And like I said, a lot of the biggest things that I see are vibrance and saturation, clarity, dehaze, and contrast, and the S-curve. Be very, very careful with the S-curve. Your S-curve can really get out of hand. So this is what we're looking for. Now, with this one, let's go a little crazy. Alright, we're going to do the same thing I did on the last one. Okay, we're going to start out with everything being the same. Alright, now zoom in. We're good. Alright, now we're going to go up here. We're going to crop it, auto it. Good. Hit auto. Alright, now this brought it up. Now the S-curve. Let's go and have some fun. So what I'm doing now is I'm still trying to make a really good picture, but we're gonna go a little crazy with it on this. So your contrast, we're gonna bring it down for that film look. Like I said, I really want that old film look in this one. Now we're not gonna mess with your white balance. You can play with the tint if you want, but we're going to leave most of it. Now, like I said, here's your S-curve. Alright? And that thing is just, yeah. So now we're going to come down here to the midtones, and we're going to go the same. We're going to hit blues, reds, greens. Now we're going to balance it out to make it look good. Not too crazy, not too... Alright. So that looks good. You can see where the reds are, you can see where the blues, you can see where the greens are still. Alright. Now, sharpening is another spot that I see where people get out of hand if you've never played with it. So this is us zoomed way in. You see all this. Alright, so we start dropping it down. Okay, drop it down. You notice all the dots are starting to go away. By the way, if you double click, it will drop you back to exactly where you were if this is your first time on Lightroom. So this doesn't look bad, but let's look at this one. Versus this. Now, if I was going for a poster, or if this was her for her business, maybe I would probably tone it down just a touch. But I really enjoy this one. You still have the shadows on one side, you're open on the other. Okay, now, if you really, like I said, this is just what I do. And this is what I've seen. This is, if you are going for this look, great. But you can really just take this photo way out of proportion. And if you really want to see what out of proportion looks like, and we'll up the dehaze, up the texture. Now, let's go to the reverse side. See, this doesn't look good. Definitely a cool effect, but not what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and put these back to where they were. Drop the clarity back out just a little bit, but you see now. So, with this being said, you have to be really careful when you're playing around in Lightroom, because these sliders will really just, they can get away from you if you're not paying attention. And I have a bunch of photos from when I first started. You can go check out my Instagram on some of my first photos. They were not, I didn't edit them very well. So, from this to this. This is a normal photo that I would use. It just really gives that touch, that hint. And this is me wanting to have a lot of fun. So, like I said, be very careful with these three sliders and your S-curve. These sliders, you have to really knock it down to where you want to be at, and your S-curve, you want to be as gentle as possible. So, now with that being said, thank you all for stopping by, visiting. If you would, drop a like if you like it. Check out the other videos. Let me know if there's anything else y'all want to see. Other than that, we're trying to grow the channel. Please subscribe if you'd like. Other than that, see you on the next.